You want that watch, you better rock a tech. You want the chain, you better cop a vest. You want the check, but can you make it stretch?
Now, can the Titans restore faith back in the crypto space, specifically in the DeFi? Now, welcome to Root Zones, bringing you the good news and the bad news of crypto. My name is Wayne.
And my name is Manish.
Now, if you like money in crypto, make sure to hit the subscribe button. So today, guys, we're going to bring David from Titano on. Hi, Daryl. Here we go. Let's bring David on. Hey, my man.
Hey.
Hey. Welcome back.
Thank you,
I hope
man.
you don't have some technical issues, but yeah, welcome. Welcome back to this channel.
Thank you. Thank you, man. Happy to be here. I had to go back to my roots.
Yeah, I remember this was the second AMA that when you came on board, it was the first. You gave us the opportunity. We had a great AMA, and I think since that time we had so much things that have happened.
Oh, absolutely. It was do you guys know when that AMA was?
Oh my gosh, this was what, 3 months?
It was January 3rd.
January 3rd. Wow, that was 6 months ago.
6 months ago.
So much things have changed, David. So much things have changed.
Yeah, so many things have changed. And I have been, first of all, as always, I just want to honor you guys because,
thank you.
The reason that I came on, you were the first AMA that I did. You guys had done a video for Titano about Titano, and I was just really blown away because of the research you had done. And I reached out to you guys and said, hey, I'm thank you. And I wanted to know more about what you guys were doing. And it was all about educating and creating opportunities for people that don't normally get an opportunity to participate in this amazing crypto space and DeFi space. And I said, guys, we got to do an AMA.
I remember that conversation. And I was thinking, who is this David from Titano? Is it, I do apologize, but in this space, we have all these scams, and also we had to do that cross verification. And it's really, someone who actually approaches. And since that day, I mean, it's been a journey. We still are a Titans ourselves. Titano has always been part of our portfolio. We still believe in this project as others. But looking at in the last 6 months alone, we had a lot of things that has happened. I mean, look at the state of the crypto markets right now. Right, we have the geopolitical chaos after the C19, oil prices, the war with Ukraine, global supply issues. Now there's shortages of food because of the import and export. The US GDP is down by 8.5. US national debt up 30 trillion. The US has printed more in 18 months than they did in the last 40 years combined. Money supply increased 38%. Interest rates targeted by end of 2022 will be 3.5. And the sentiment on free markets is not being incentivized. And, that's what capitalism is all about. And recently, of course, if you look at Coinbase, there's a layoff of 15% of their staff.
Right. Wow. Yeah, these are challenging times. And, it coupled with everything that you're saying, we're also going through some transitions, right? The US and the US dollar, right, are now being challenged, where you've got China announcing that they want to make the yuan a reserve currency along with Russia and the BRICS countries. We're in a transition period right now, and crypto's right at the heart of that.
Yeah.
And one thing that we all can see is that we're not immune to what's going on in macro environments, right? Crypto is still, this high risk asset, and there's only so much money goes that people have to go around. And what people tend to do first is to pull out their riskier assets, and they still look at crypto as part of those riskier assets. I think the crypto market has lost $1.4 trillion in the last 45, 60 days.
Right.
So it has been a bloodbath. And and right along with that, I interact a lot with people in the space, and there's an emotional and psychological component to this when things go as quickly as they did from good to bad. And so I'm extraordinarily sensitive to that. And I think we all should be, as people who are interacting with, our fans or followers or people who are part of our protocols. We have to be sensitive that when people come on and they have questions, or they're angry, or they're upset, we need to be mindful that this is uncharted territory for a lot of people in the crypto space.
Right.
And so, but with all of that said, I've never been more bullish on this space. Never. It's proving that what we all thought when we came here as the future of money and the future of our ability to gain power is being proven, because right now, if you look at what's happening with crypto,
Right.
the financial institutions are buying up all the altcoins right now, right?
Yeah.
They're the ones that are bringing the money in, not the retail, right?
Right.
So what do they know? They know that this dip is going to be a part of what it always is, right?
Yes.
A floor that then goes higher and higher and higher in crypto.
Right.
So I always hold on to that as an investor and as someone who's working on projects in this space.
Right, exactly. I mean, David, we have like, kind of a two mindset here. So of course we know, 75%, 80% is all retailers, and the typical strategies for retailers is actually dollar cost average. That's
Right.
basically what they do based on the projects they believe in. But when we look at the whales, they are playing a different game, and we also have the institutions which also uses the same methodology that they use in traditional finance, right? So as you mentioned, riskier assets, they will straight away go for that dump. That's where billions of dollars get wiped out for the market. And of course, as retailers, the best strategy that we can do is just that dollar cost average.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
it's a challenge. I mean, David, if you look at the like 5 asset classes that we spoke about, look at gold and silver. It's too slow for the Gen Z, right? How long can you wait for gold and silver to kind of change our wealth, right? Being a retailer. If you look at businesses, if you were to create 9 out of 10 fails, right? So happens with projects, right? 95 projects, startups typically fail. Those that stay is because they still have a good dev team. They continue to innovate and change with times, right? And that's how businesses scale up. And then if you look at paper assets based on the S&P, you have like 10% growth annually, compared to crypto that you can get 10% in weeks or days. And look at real estate today. Looking at the dollar, that what's happening in terms of the inflation, as we start to scale the interest rates up, most people may not be able to afford their rental apartments as a form of investment. So so where can we go? I mean, the only way, I mean, in this lifetime for us right now, this opportunity is crypto. And finding that right project in the midst of 19,000 is like finding a needle in a haystack.
Yeah, this is true. And this is the challenge, right? This is the challenge of crypto. I mean, any new industry, people don't remember, right? Do you remember what grew the internet? Remember the business area that grew the internet? People don't remember.
Right.
It was pornography. Pornography grew the internet. People don't remember. In the beginning, it was like, man, it's only like porno everywhere. So you had all of these industries that, or all of these businesses that helped to grow it. And so this is a new area, and any new area, any new business area is going to attract what's attracted to crypto, the scams and the rug pulls. And more importantly, and what happens much more than scams and rug pulls, are people who are just not good at what they're doing or what they're claiming they can do, right? And it's amazingly difficult in this space with no policing, no self-policing, no outside organizations policing, to tell the difference. And as someone who gets exposed to a lot of projects, right, I see it all the time. And when I do run into projects that have good intentions but are not capable of pulling off, I'm always gentle with them, because my assumption is that they want to do the right thing.
Right.
But remember, you're also taking on people's money. Yeah. So you've got to be responsible about what you're doing. Don't launch that project, right? It's not going to work. It's an interesting time in crypto now. I mean, we saw, as an example, the collapse of Terra.
Yep.
What I also say about what's going on in crypto now, this is, to me, equivalent to what happened in 2008. Remember, we had the tech crash in the early 2000s or late 1999, early 2000s. And what typically happens when there's a crash like that one, everyone takes their money out of the stock market in that case, and they put it in the banks. The problem with 2008 was the banks collapsed.
Yep.
And it caused a crisis of consciousness where people were going, "Oh my God, what do I do with my money?"
Right.
Well, if you look at what just happened with crypto, the banks of crypto are collapsing.
Right.
All my smart friends in crypto would always tell me, "David, make a lot of money and then take it and put it into Anchor Protocol and get that 20% every year, and you're set for the rest of your life." And then Anchor Protocol and the entire Terra ecosystem collapses in 3 freaking days.
Yeah, within 72 hours.
Gone, completely gone.
Completely.
And it caused this concern, rightfully so, about what are we doing here? And I want to give you guys 2 perspectives, right, that are my perspectives, just my points of view. As I've said repeatedly, I'm not a crypto guy. And that's not meant to mean anything except that I like to be an outside observer on these things. Because I don't want to be swayed because I've got so much knowledge and I'm explaining away bad behavior or bad situations.
Right.
So to me, what I always go to is what's at the fundamental level happening with a project like Terra or Anchor Protocol or that entire ecosystem. And I'm going to give you my perspective. So my perspective is you had this really bright guy, Do Kwon, who fashioned himself as the smartest guy in DeFi. Now, how do we know that? Because he said it all the time, right? Everyone else was dumb or an idiot, or anyone who said anything against him, right, didn't know what they were talking about. Back in November, someone put up a hypothetical about how they would crash the UST Terra ecosystem or Luna ecosystem. And his response was, "You don't know what you're talking about. In fact, I'll bet you $20 million that you couldn't do that." And then after an exchange, he went up to $200 million that couldn't happen. And it happened. And so the interesting part to me is that the depegging didn't cause the crash of Luna. What caused the crash of Luna was the loss of confidence in Do Kwon. The moment that people found out this guy is not the smartest guy in DeFi, they all ran away.
Yeah.
I invite you to listen to the head of Celsius, right? In hindsight, this is strange calling on him. But when he was asked, why did you pull your money out of Luna? Why did you pull your money out of UST? He said, because I lost confidence in Do Kwon. I didn't feel like he was on top of it anymore. And to me, that's an important point to make because it points to me like some of the important things about when building a project, what's important, what's really going on. It's this loss of confidence. And what happened is that Terra confirmed for a lot of people, particularly in the DeFi space, investors, that you got to be the first one in and the first one out, or you're at greater risk.
Yeah.
And that entire issue is a problem for the entire DeFi community, for entire crypto community. We have to be mindful of that. On the one hand, industries always get built by big personalities, right? If you didn't have an Elon Musk, you wouldn't have electric car industry.
Right.
You need a person that's got a big, but at the same time, you got to be mindful. You got to educate yourself. You got to understand what's going on.
Right.
And the projects themselves have to be respectful to those people who participate and who create those projects. In my opinion, Do Kwon, when I watched his tweets when all of this was happening, he never addressed the community.
Yeah. It was more of stay calm. We got this handled.
We got this handled, but he never talked to the people who had entrusted him with all of their money. And I think if he would have, the outcome would have been different, right? It wasn't the depegging, right? The depegging would have come back eventually. It may take months, but once people lost confidence and they said, hey, we're getting the hell out of here, and he wasn't saying anything to them. And I bring that up again as a student of this industry, right? Not as an insider, as a student. That's interesting to me. The second thing I wanted to talk about is we are in a transition stage with DeFi. Remember what DeFi is saying? DeFi is saying that we want to replace the existing financial system that we all recognize as regular people. It's not working for us, right? We do what we're told, right? We pay our taxes, we stay on the right side of the law, and what happens? We're not getting anywhere. Right. Meanwhile, we look across the street at the guy that's building up another big house and another, on and on and on and on. Why is he able to get ahead and I'm not?
Right.
And so crypto and DeFi is saying to us, you know what? There's two reasons why. First reason is you don't have access to the same tools that this person has. Not that he's smarter, right? He just has insider access. Maybe he's a banker, maybe he knows a banker, maybe he's got a little bit of money to use it in this way and you don't have it. So crypto is saying we're going to give you access to those tools. The second thing is crypto is going to give you access to the ability to aggregate your power into one place. Banks do. They take all of our money, they aggregate it in one place, and they leverage it, and they become as powerful as they are. So people come to DeFi. But here's the thing. We got to understand that the models that will make this industry thrive are not the same models that we're running away from. So look at all of these projects that are failing. Look at Terra Luna. Look at 3 Arrows Capital. Look at Celsius. They are the same businesses that we're running away from. What have they done? Satoshi laid out how this industry has to work. Some ways he was right on, some ways he wasn't. But he said a couple of things that are important. And at the center of all of it, it's about decentralization. It's about decentralizing. And what is he talking about? Well, it's a currency, right? Bitcoin's a currency. So what could he be talking about? He's not talking about a DAO. He's talking about the money, right? It came out of 2008. All of the money in the world was aggregated in these small amounts of banks, and the banks crashed the entire world. Look at what just happened with crypto. The same thing is happening. We've aggregated all of the money in these 5 or 6 or 10 projects, trusting these people, and look what's happening. They're all collapsing. And what are we finding? Same thing we found in 2008, that they're all working together. They're all in the, well, hang on a second. What has Celsius got to do with this one? Well, they bought their bonds and they did this and they loaned money to that one. It's like, I'm telling you, it's like a deja vu trip for me. What we've done in DeFi is we've created the same system that we know doesn't work. So I suggest that we rethink what we're doing here. I'm not saying anything negative about Do Kwon or this one. What I'm saying is when you create those systems, this is an inevitability. It has to happen this way. It has to happen this way. We have to have these sorts of things. And so for me, there are great lessons for us to look at. Yeah, there's a transition thing. People get comfortable with how banking works. I want to be able to give my money to someone and just let them handle it for me. And I don't care. I get whatever they tell me. We get comfortable with that system, but it's not going to get us what we want and what we need. That's my opinion.
No, I totally agree with you. I think right now what we are trying to move into is in the code. Can we trust the code? Right, because in traditional finance we have people. So you look at Madoff, right? What is his name? Right, you know. So
Bernie Madoff.
Yeah. So we try to move out and put it into a code, and then that's why that faith was lost with Luna. Especially one of the key things. I mean, the real bigger value in terms of learning is that to be careful with leverage. Because with the recent sell-off, a lot of these folks are youngs. They took baby boomers money. They even took leverage from banks because they wanted to pay off a lower interest rates by taking out $100 over $1,000, putting it into Anchor Protocol, taking that 20% and paying back the banks, and they just got wiped in 72 hours. And that's I think I was quite sad that for those who are suffering. I mean, if you're watching this video, there's always this SOS hotline in your local countries. If you ever feel suicidal, I think that's not taking a life. Money we can always earn back. We have to deal with the banks. We have to do that, but it's not worth taking your life. So David just dropped off. I think there's some issue.
Yeah, some technical issues.
So while we wait for him to come back on, guys,
And meanwhile, we have to also ask David. There is a Switch platform which is launched recently in Titano, and I have gone through a couple of tweets where they have mentioned that we should always buy from Switch. So it means that we should not buy it from PancakeSwap. That one question I have it in my mind also.
Yeah. fine. So just have those questions coming, because I saw a few guys
Few guys are also typing switch.
asking.
Yeah.
So let me just check in. Sorry for the technical glitch. It happens always with YouTube. Let's
Yeah,
see,
so
David.
very good questions and nice questions has come from the guys. Keep writing, guys. I think I'm just I just pinned your messages, and probably in the end of AMA, David will address those questions.
Yeah, so thanks. I think Daryl, thanks David for asking some questions. I see.
I think David asked a questions where when it will be placed on exchange like Binance or a Coinbase. So I think
Yeah.
this answer we also have it. It's a DeFi projects, and DeFi projects will not go well when it will be in a CeFi exchange and all those.
Yeah,
So
Dave
probably I
Thomas is
don't know.
asking whether Titano can touch 5 cents to 10 cents. Good
Yeah.
questions. What's the future looking for Titano? So, yeah, just keep those questions coming. I think we will get David to try to address some
Yeah.
of those questions if he can today. Answer. So the sentiment, guys, I think that's why we've got David on is, I think, as we progress in this conversation, we really want to get to the heart of the matter, because I think all of us, I can maybe just speak for you guys, is all of us are just trying to imagine if you can get a passive income of $3,000 every month. It would put you in a different position within the country that you reside in. $3,000 here in Asia alone, you will be almost earning as what the surgeons, right, a heart surgeon would be earning. I mean, myself and Manish, we have done that. We always had this number in mind. We have many articles to show that even in Bali, a US citizen is living in Bali for less than 3,000. So that's something.
This is interesting remark which Mega Bullish is typing it. Project listing on Switch will bring a revenue to Titan using their volume. Switch will burn the token for those projects instead of dumping them.
Here we have David.
Here we have.
Guys?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
And this is something that I've talked about here on the show many, many times.
Guys, hang on a second.
Panic selling is very...
All right. My sincere apologies. I think Doquan came after me, man.
Yeah. So Doquan, if you are doing that,
that happens, David.
I'm sorry, guys.
It's something technical, so I think it happens sometimes. That's absolutely fine.
All right.
So David, you all good?
I'm good.
Second questions I have. What's happening in the DeFi right now? And maybe you can just share with us your wealth of knowledge, being at the top, seeing it for the last 1 year.
Yeah. All right. So, interesting. Interesting.
Hang on.
I'm getting a delay from you guys.
No, actually, you joined 2 times. I just kicked you out on one of your idle sessions, so I think should be okay now. Go ahead, David. I think, yeah.
You're good, David.
Okay, I can't see you guys though. It says that you've been. Wait a minute, because I'm open twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we just removed one.
We just removed
once. There we are. Okay, there we are. All right. I'm sorry about that, guys. Technical issues. All right. So yeah, let me give you. Let's talk about Titano. Is that what we're moving to? Okay.
Yeah.
So this has been an amazing journey. And if we look back, even from the last AMA that we did together, there have been so many amazing things that have happened. And then there have been so many lessons learned. I've said repeatedly throughout this journey that Titano is an experiment, like all DeFi projects are experiments. And Titano's unique experiment is that it is attempting to see what if it fully engages the community, right? Again, as I said earlier, in a core way, right? In the way that cryptocurrency initially said was critical, and that is where the money is. So people would initially talk about comparing Titano to an Olympus DAO type of a project. And the main difference is that when the APY got fixed in the way that it did, the high APY, it changed the dynamics of the protocol to one where the treasury was no longer aggregated or centralized in one location. It was decentralized amongst the wallet holders, right? And the experiment was, what would happen? How would the community engage with the project when the value wasn't just promised to them, it was delivered to them every 30 minutes, right? That was the experiment, right? Because the Olympus DAO projects, or Olympus forks all said, hey, look, we're gonna aggregate all this money in the treasury, and then trust me, we're gonna do all of these amazing things, and you guys are gonna make a lot of money, and you're all gonna be happy. So just hold on and keep giving us your money. And Titano said, well, wait a second, rather than having us promise you, why don't we just give you the money every 30 minutes? The APY is fixed. We can't fool around with the APY and adjust it based on our needs. We can't create all these things that say, well, hang on a second, now that we've gotten all your money in our treasury, we're gonna now drop the APY and you guys are gonna be angry because what you thought you were getting, you're not getting.
Right.
And it's been an interesting, a really amazing experiment, an amazing road that we've been on with Titano. One of the biggest challenges is that Titano was cutting through the jungle, right? There's been a machete in the hand and there hasn't been anyone in front of us. And we've been cutting vines and cutting bushes and cutting down trees in some cases. And sometimes you cut through something and there's a beautiful spring on the other side and you take a dip. And other times you cut through and there's a lion or there's this poisonous snake. And that's been the case with Titano. And through this journey, there's been more than 200 forks of Titano. And we've watched how they have filled out the marketplace.
Right.
And it's been interesting. Titano has never taken an adverse response or reaction to any of the forks.
Right.
Because the idea was, if there are other great ideas that can come along and grow this area, then we're 100% behind that.
Right.
And so a lot of the projects would approach us and say, hey, look, we want to get in business with you guys. We want to do something with you guys. But in the meantime, Titano was focused on how do we make this project sustain? How do we continually deliver value to the Titans? And it's been challenging. And I'll tell you a couple of the things that we've done really well. One is understanding the protocol,
right?
Understanding how all of this works. If someone would have said to me that Titano's price would drop 95% and we'd lose less than 1% of our holders, I would have been surprised to hear that.
Right.
But in speaking with the Titans and getting an understanding of what they're thinking, they love this project.
Yeah.
They love the idea of it. They love the fact that the devs deliver, that when there are promises made, they deliver. Sometimes it's late, that's software development, but they always deliver. So having that community, I say now, what Titano learned is that your community is part of your protocol.
It is.
It has to be a part of your protocol, because if you're not sensitive to their needs, then at some point you're going to diverge from them and they're all going to leave.
Right.
Right. So that's some of the amazing things that we've learned. And we've introduced use cases that have been extraordinarily effective at taming inflation, at generating revenue. So a couple of months ago, Titano made a pivot, right? From, remember, crypto projects, DeFi projects happen in stages. All crypto projects do. The first stage is the token distribution stage. We have to get that token into as many people's hands as possible. Right. They have to feel connected to the ecosystem. And then in the second stage, you have to find things for them to do with those tokens within your ecosystem. Titano's in that stage now, right? Where they're building out use cases to have the holders utilize their tokens. And as I've said repeatedly, because people come to me and say, David, you got this token that makes whales. What happens when all these whales cash out? Well, the strategy is to not have them cash out. The strategy is to have them cash in to the ecosystem, to the Titano economy. And Titano's job is to find value for them within the Titano economy.
Right.
So
it's a mixture basically of growing. You have to attract investors, right? That was the initial stage, and then after now you are looking to grow with them, not just grow and then where people can come and go, but the community grows together, and I think that's where the direction of Titano, if I hear you right, is going.
correct. That's absolutely correct. And I think that has to be the path for every crypto project, even if you're a layer one, right? You've got to find things for people to do within your ecosystem so they don't leave. And Titano's challenge is no different. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about the price, right? And what happened. I've said this in different AMAs, and I'll say it here. If you look and see what Titano didn't do as well, part of it is Titano took on a strategy of never punching down and never even responding to a lot of negativity that got thrown at it.
Right.
And it was, I agree with that strategy because, I talk about this. Cardi B got into an argument on Twitter and was going back and forth. And then she just stopped and she said, you know what I just realized? I just gave that person 2 million Twitter followers, right, by this argument. Not that the person deserved it. It was just the argument. And we have to be careful, Titano does, about who you validate.
Right.
The moment you engage in that argument, you validated the other side.
Exactly.
The challenge was, if out of these 200 Titano forks, probably 20% of them, their entire marketing strategy was bad-mouthing Titano.
Yep.
They're going to crash, they're going to fall, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, they're going to do the other thing.
Exactly.
And we didn't respond to it. We felt that we had a strong enough marketing idea, a strong enough positioning that people would know that's just people talking. But it was consistent and it was incessant. It didn't stop. And all of a sudden, I began to get a lot of comments around, well, David, is inflation and overwhelming Titano? Can we ever recover? And my response was multifold, right?
Right.
First of all, who are you hearing that from?
Right.
Where's it coming from? Like where? And I say this all the time. I've got brilliant math people consulting me. They're titans. I got financial analysts. I've got guys that run funds. I got math PhDs, and they're talking with me about token inflation and the project being overwhelmed. And we're looking at fundamentals. We're looking at major changes to the project that are being caused by token inflation. And I haven't seen it, and no one's seen it. What I've seen is a conversation around it that I look at as a marketing conversation. Now, if I'm wrong, it's simple. Tell me the number. Tell me the formula that I need to have to tell me when we reach a token number that we can't recover from. I would love to have that number.
Right.
Tell me the number. I ask everyone, tell me the number. Tell me, guys, when you reach this amount, it's impossible to recover. Now, remember that conversation in light of what just happened with these 3 use cases, right? The reintroduction of Titano Play, the lottery, and the bet swirl, right? Before the market crashed again, those 3 protocols alone were knocking 1% off the 1.9% daily APY. Just those 3 projects, and they didn't get going. I'm not talking about the buy and sell fees. I'm not talking about the switch fees. I'm talking about those 3 use cases were knocking 1% a day off that 1.9%. So when you tell me it's huge. When you're telling me that we're being overwhelmed, I'm going, what are you looking at? Now, we had all these YouTubers who were saying, I can show you in January, we had a YouTuber going, Titano's dead in 30 days. February, 15 days. March, I did the formulas, and in 22 days, Titano's done. On and on and on and on and on. And my response is, who are these people? And how can they come up with these summations when they haven't contacted the project? You know, it's like for me, it's like someone saying to you, hey man, I got this lump on my neck. It just came out of nowhere. And I asked my gardener, like, what was going on? Hang on a second. You had a lump on your neck that came out of nowhere, and you asked your gardener what was going on? Like, why would you go to? Don't you think it's better to go to the doctor? Well, no. You see, my gardener, he actually was going to medical school and gained a love for gardening, and so he's what is he, a medical doctor? Well, no, he's not. And then it goes even further.
Exactly.
Well, did he examine you? Well, no. I talked to him over the phone. See, the comparison I make to these YouTubers is, what are they talking about? They haven't contacted me. It would be different if they contacted. Listen, we contacted David. We contacted Titano. They gave us some horrible answers. This is our summation. You haven't talked to the very people who created the project to come up with a summation. You haven't done that. And the irony of it is, so what I would do originally is I would reach out to all of those YouTubers, and my communication with them was always pleasant. Hey, listen, love your video. You obviously have some questions about Titano. I would love to answer them. Please send me communicate. I got one person that responded to me, Dow King. And to his credit, he sent me some questions. He sent me 8. I sent him back answers to 10 questions. I said, you know what? These are 2 questions that you may have forgotten or you should have asked. Let me answer them. And to his credit, he did a video saying, hey guys, I sent these questions to Titano and David responded. And I got to tell you, he had some really, really good answers. And he became a Titan. So it's remember my position, right? I've got to filter out all of the noise. And get to what's important. So let me be clear. I'm not, for those people thinking, oh, well, David's not concerned about inflation. I'm concerned about everything.
Of course.
Of course, I'm concerned about inflation. It is an issue. Rebasing tokens are high inflation tokens, and you have to be mindful of the inflation. And let me be clear as well, and you guys have heard me say this, and I'll say it again. Titano has to move from this rebasing token. If you look at that curve, it goes up into infinity. And nothing can outrun infinity. And anyone who tells you anything different, you should run. However, there are examples of people doing it. And Titano is following an example of how you do it. So it's not a question of if, it's a question of when and how do we move off. And that's what this current stage of Titano is about. Building out this economy to allow us to move the Titans to a series of use cases that are as valuable or even more valuable as that rebasing token without the downsides. That's the process.
I think you're right. I think a lot of times we look at some of these YouTubers. We are, YouTubers also, but our background, it came mostly from the tech industry. Where last time, when you learn a technology, it takes about 6 months. Today it's weeks, and the amount of duplication in terms of someone taking a product, finding a right market fit, spinning it from a marketing angle. That's like the business side of things, but no one actually looks at the development that is required to move to the next phase, and that in itself is not a math situation. You can try to use logical math, because it's not only Titano, right? We had the DAO, like Time Wonderland, which is leverage. We had what else? We had Node as a service. They all face the same fate. But what I like about you, David, specifically, the conversations that we have is that we know that there are certain set of problems, but like I think Mega Bullish, he was saying something which I caught my attention.
I think he's a captain.
Yeah, he was saying something about that you can't duplicate the dev teams, and I think that's a very fundamentally important point, because if you look at Silicon Valley, right, there's only a handful of developers that actually kind of pierce through the market, create something that is new, something that is innovation, and that innovation itself will capture that market share. It will move. You look at the Elon Musk of the world, right? Without him, we wouldn't have gone to space. We wouldn't have that the cars that would most likely disrupt the drivers, the industries, right, where we have to depend on drivers. Now we have a cyborg, right, a chip that is put in the. So Titano to me was the first mover. After that, we had that 200 over Fox that's duplicating. The question is, when they duplicate that and when they run into certain problems, can they solve that technically? Can they solve that technically?
That's
most of the time, no.
Yes, that's absolutely right. We saw that, right, with what happened with all the Olympus DAO forks.
Right.
Right. The moment that the protocol had a hiccup, none of them were capable of pivoting, because the reality of it is most of them never understood the protocol in the first place.
Exactly.
They just forked it.
Right.
So I say that with Titano all the time. When people are coming and going, hey man, this particular project has come up with this thing, I go, well, what are they basing that on? Right. And you have to remember, anyone can say anything.
Yeah.
But
Of
the
course.
proof is in what happens over time.
Yes.
And yeah, Titano's been reluctant to jump on a lot of these, last minute ideas that are going to save everything, because typically those don't work. I said earlier that there was a project that came to me and they said, oh, we fixed everything and we've got this project and the project can't fail. The price literally can't go down. And my first question was, because I always ask, under what conditions does your strategy not work? Right. And typically there's always some condition. You said none.
Of course.
It has to work. And my next question was, well, why are you talking to me? If I actually had that, like a project where the token price couldn't go down, I'd be calling Vitaly Buterin at Ethereum and going, hey man, we need a meeting. I'd be calling the head of Apple Computers saying, hey, I've got this protocol. So anything that comes after that is difficult to be taken seriously. And I'm in a position where I have to, in some cases, be the voice for 80,000 holders.
Right.
And so I've got to be cautious about who and how and all of those things. And it's not easy. I take
It's
very, very seriously.
Like some of the top business in Forbes, they always talk about 3 fundamentals to make any projects or any business success, right? The right state of mind, that's the psychology, the story that you tell yourself, that's the narrative, and at the same time, the strategy. And the strategy is a constant and never-ending changes. There's always that refinement because market forces changes. There's too many external factors, internal, and then even in the crypto family space, we have less than $1 trillion in the space. So what can we do? Like what you said, David, and I truly, ignore the noise, focus on what is important, which is innovate and marketing.
Innovate and marketing. So let me go back to, because I see some conversations around what happened to the Titano price. Right. So Titano initially did an amazing job at growing organically. If you look at our first few months, a lot of our growth came from Titans who were so excited about being in the project. They went and got family and friends. They educated themselves. We had an amazingly educated community. We still do, by the way. But what happened was we overheated. And all of a sudden, all of these new holders were FOMOing in. Oh, man, you got to get involved in Titano. You got to get involved. Right. And our holder count went through the roof. There were some days we were adding 1,200, 1,500 new holders per day with people who didn't know. And I would go into the socials and I would see the conversations change. Right. And we had a great community. So the community would try to help, to try to educate people, but they weren't there to be educated. They were there to get that Lambo and get the hell out of there. And right at that time, there was a bot attack. And the bot attack targeted those new Titano members who didn't understand. And they sent all these messages through going, Titano's doing an airdrop and blah, 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 blah. And a lot of people fell for it and got scammed and lost their tokens. And this conversation happened in the chats where, well, is Titano broken? To be clear, Titano wasn't the only project that was hit. There were a lot of big projects hit, but Titano got hit really hard. Right. At the same time, we had our first pancake swap dump. So right in the midst of this, I remember looking at it, was like, boy, I should have looked at my horoscope this month, because it would have said, David, don't get out of bed. Right. So all of these things were happening. So then we've got the new members. A lot of them were scammed. A lot of them ran away because there was something wrong with the project. And then you've got the scammers dumping our tokens. So the price started cascading. And we were trying to manage this craziness. Now, right along with that, what had happened was we were overwhelmed by all of this messaging outside of Titano. They're being, see, this is it. This is the tokens. The tokens are overwhelming them. The inflation. And we lost control of our narrative. Pancake Swap then dumped again. Right. The scammers dumped again. And all of a sudden, the price cascaded down. Now, something happened at that point in time that had never happened with Titano. We didn't bounce back. right? Everything that had happened previously, no matter what, whether it was a hack or whether it was, you name it, we would always bounce back. But the narrative, our not being able to control our narrative anymore, prevented us from telling people, wait, let us tell you what our future is. You know, when the Jesse Echo video came out, it positioned us where when I had the conversation with Jesse around why and how and what is he seeing and what is he thinking, there were a couple of issues for me that bothered me, and one of them was he wasn't up to date on what we were doing. And he admitted that to me. David, I didn't know this was happening. Well, it added to this misinformation campaign around Titano. And so what we've been working on is gaining back our ability to control our narrative around what Titano is.
Right.
And I think that that's critical. And I would say that for anyone that's launching a project, you have to do everything that you can to control your narrative. Sometimes it's extraordinarily difficult. If you've got, 100 projects saying they're done and you're saying we're not, it's challenging.
Right.
But that's one of our core focuses right now, regaining control of our story, the Titano story. We want to tell the Titano story, not a YouTuber, not another project. Let Titano tell it. Let us live and die on the story that we're telling and that we're delivering.
Yeah, amazing. You just got me the goosebumps.
Ah.
Live and die, Titans.
That's
all
the
way.
Confidence. Yeah,
it is. It's truly, I really appreciate you, David. I mean, especially as the dev teams, for really not running away, basically, but staying with us, staying with the community. And I look at the community really strong. We, maybe a few folks have left, but still close to 80,000 strong, community. And I think like what we are just on the micro cap side of things. But if you look at history, I mean, when you look at even in the stock market, we always, as humanity, we always came back stronger. And even if you look at Bitcoin, if there's a correlation between Bitcoin being the mother of all versus all the altcoins, Bitcoin had a 2-year bull period and then a 6 months run up to about the 17,000 mark in early 2017. And then we had another 2 years, kind of a bear market. And then we had a six months run up to about 69,000. And now, of course, if you look at it, those 2 terms, we had Donald Trump, we had Obama. During that time, we have never raised, I mean, the US Feds haven't actually raised the interest rates, but this time they are doing it. So it could be an extended period. But, during this time, what I like about you guys, I mean, we are also investors of Titano, is that constant innovation, constant education that comes through your form of marketing. So, kudos to you guys.
Thank you. Let me use this opportunity to do what I love to do, which is to talk about our team. So let me start with the devs. 3 young guys had an idea, and the idea was around making DeFi more accessible, right, to people by simplifying things, right? You don't have to stake your tokens on someone else's website. You don't have to understand, am I staked? Am I getting my blah, 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 blah. You buy the token, you're staked. Right, you don't buy, hold, and earn every 30 minutes. Value in your wallet. Simple. And everything that's been built around Titano has maintained that simplicity and clarity for our holders. Right, it limits a lot of things that Titano can do, but those are the fundamentals. In addition to that, they've been here through the thick and thin. The liquidity that was just recovered, the money that was covered from play, just got put into liquidity, I think 48 hours ago.
Oh,
right.
Wow.
So every promise that's been promised, and I invite you to look at other projects where the price has gone down, the devs run, they leave the project, they forget what's going on, blah 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 blah. These guys have done nothing but constantly build, and more building is coming. Within the next 30 days, you're going to see 2 more major use cases.
Awesome.
You're going to see marketing coming. We just did a deal on Monday. We start our first TikTok marketing campaign. We have a TikToker, a Titan who's a TikToker who's got 5 million followers on TikTok. And we're doing a constant and ongoing campaign with him. There are all sorts of other marketing things going on, and the guys are fully engaged in building out this project and doing the development while this market is the way that it is.
Awesome.
So
awesome.
A shout out to them. Another shout out, of course, to my partner, John, who's brilliant and, is always just the heart of what we're doing. And then the rest of our team, whether it's developers or the mods, they are, we're in groups together, and we could not hope for a better group of people, right? They're smart, they're informative, they're supportive of the project, they're supportive of each other. And then, of course, our biggest asset, which is our community. Right. They are, I said this earlier to you guys, I'll repeat it again. We had two different community groups that on their own that wanted to help the protocol sustained, and they created groups, and I've engaged with both of those groups. I got them together as one group, and I'm engaging with them, and they're coming up with really amazing ideas to help the project sustain. They did this completely on their own. Right. This was completely, guys, we want to help. How do we? And I've said, in order to make this project reach its potential, it's not going to be 5 guys. It's going to be all of us throwing in. So we get dozens of suggestions and dozens of ideas, and all of them are looked at. I want all of you Titans to know everything that you send is examined. So it's an amazing experience that we're all going through. And I say to everyone, pay attention to all of this, right? Because this is what you were looking for. I'm not saying Titano is going to make, I don't know that. But what I do say is what you've come to and what you're creating is what you were looking for. Right? It's not handing your power over to other people. It's you retaining your power and using that to build the things that you need. That's Titano to me.
David, tell us a bit about liquid capital and the future of DeFi. I saw that coming up, in certain conversations. I'm just curious how liquid capital, Titano, how do they interrelate? And
excellent question. Okay, so along this journey, a lot of things have been discovered. One of the things that I talked about tangentially, right, that I'll talk more specific about, is the state of mind of the DeFi investor, right? Because if you're not paying attention to that, you're missing the big picture. As I said, when I talked about Terra Luna, my feeling is if Do Kwon would have spoken to the community on a peer level, right? Or, humbled himself, that project would not have collapsed. That's my feeling.
Yeah, the death spiral would have not happened. They would have used the BTC to settle the code, right? The supply and demand.
Absolutely. They would have had time because people would have been settled down. They got nothing from him. They all ran. Right. Now, that is a common theme in crypto and particularly in DeFi, right? The moment there's a hiccup, people run because they've been trained to run, right? Because if you don't run, you're going to be the last one out and there's no liquidity left. Right. So you got to be mindful that that's the space. So for Titano, one of the important elements of growing this project is being aware of the entire DeFi space. Because if those people who are used to run to your project, they're going to bring that same energy into your project. This is what happened when we had that crash initially, right? Those same people with that energy who would run from all those other projects, weren't educated, didn't understand what Titano was. They were just here to find the Lambo. No Lambo, we're out of here. Right. So one of the issues was, how do we engage in such a way with the entire DeFi space to help Titano, right? That's the idea. So several months ago, I embarked upon a strategy of partnering, right? Let's bring in some partners, right? There were several reasons around that. One was, let's find like-minded projects that can then help settle down the entire DeFi space. That's number one. Number two, what happens with a project like Titano that goes from 0 to through the roof? Remember, from 40,000 to 260 million, right, in 4 months, is chaos ensues, right? And me, with my experience, what I'm saying to the guys is, we gotta focus, we gotta keep building. But there's emotional and psychological, and what does this mean, and existential, and all these things. And I'm just going, we gotta keep building. But building's hard, right? We're hiring people left and right. This person didn't work out. That person's a fool. This person's great. This person, all of these things are happening. And at the same time, the project has to keep going on. Exactly. So one of the things that got brought in is partnering. Let's find ways that we can, one example, that we can co-market, right? Because a lot of the things that need to be said about Titano shouldn't say it. Titano's partner should say it. Another thing is development, right? There's certain types of development. I don't care who you are. It's kind of like, Michael Jordan would be great at playing basketball. He'd be a lousy hockey player.
Right.
So you're going to find some things that you do well and some things that you don't. So imagine partnering with projects that do those things well that you don't. So the first partnership was BetSwirl, right? Titano realized that one way to fight inflation and generate revenue is by these games of chance, right? People love them.
Of course.
So now we've got to develop a lot of these games of chance. We have two choices: develop them in-house or partner with a company whose focus is on developing those games of chance. And that's BetSwirl. And the amazing part of that partnership is that the value that Titano gets from that partnership is not much less than it would get if it did it on its own. Right? That's a great partnership.
Right.
So under that heading, when I put that out there, I got inundated with people. We want to partner. We want to partner. Partnering is difficult because it's not just about finding a project with a use case or assets that we need.
Right.
You got to put people together. See what I mean? This person has to be able to communicate and interact with that person so that there's a win. And then on top of that, you got to make sure that it's a benefit to both sides. So within all of that, I got inundated by partner. Hey, we're the perfect partner. And in the midst of that, Eric from Liquid Capital approached me. And I liked him. Personality was right. It's like I'm like the father looking at a guy that wants to date his daughter. And I'm like, let me see. Who's your parents? Where do they work? Talk to me about your grandparents. What kind of car do you drive? What are your aspirations? Right? I'm doing that with him. And he's clicking all the boxes. And then I asked the question that I always ask. Explain Titano to me. Tell me what this is. And he had the best answer I had ever heard. And I could tell, like I could tell with you guys, he had done a ton of research on what Titano was. And he revered Titano. And then he took me to places I hadn't even thought about. And he said, David, I've got ways to help Titano grow. And it started this series of conversations around what he saw, what we saw. And coincidentally, one of these things, the big thing was, how do we also deal with the entire space?
Right.
And I had this idea about creating this partnership group, and Liquid had already been doing it. They had already gathered partners under this trusted partner protocol, right? Where they were going to bring partners in who were doxed and KYC'd, and all of their projects were audited by reputable firms, and the projects would allow their protocols and their projects to be examined by us, where we take a look at it and go, hey man, that's crazy. Or hey, would you be interested in changing this? They had already been doing it. So the foundation for creating a partnership with Liquid was as strong as anyone could have hoped for. Then we started talking about their project. And initially they wanted to launch a project that was very similar to Titano. And we got together with the Titano guys and John and I and Liquid guys, and we started looking at what are some of the things we would do now based on what we've learned. And Liquid Capital was open to making these modifications to make things more healthy.
Right.
And that created the foundation for Liquid Capital.
Wow. It seems to me now the expansion is actually drawing in talents. It's into the crypto space. It's supporting not only the retailers but developers, and I think that's a very good direction, David. Thank you. I've been on a lot of conversations. By the way, when we started, I think they had 8 or 10 partners. When Titano did the partnership deal with Liquid Capital, I think there were 14 partners. Wow.
We're up to 28 now.
Okay.
I think there'll be 35 at least by the time Liquid launches on July 10th. Yeah, and so it's a very the three core guys, LB, who is one of the most respected, who might be the most respected developer in DeFi right now. He's a legend. Eric, who is the front guy. He's amazing, young kid, a lot of energy, really, really bright. By the way, I'm gonna have Eric, at least Eric, and maybe all three of the guys come on and do an AMA with you guys.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
You'll enjoy them. Great guys, great personality, smart.
Wow.
All docs. They'll do a live docs with you.
Awesome.
And then NB, who came up with the tokenomics, who's brilliant. And NB and John actually worked on some of the tokenomics for Liquid Capital. And it's a next stage. And it's funny, I've gotten a lot of questions. Well, David, what does this mean for Titano? Does this mean you've lost faith? And I say like this: Titano and Liquid Capital are different projects that are taking different roads to get the same thing accomplished. So I look at it like Titano's this classic Ferrari. It's beautiful. It's sexy. It's loud. You know what I mean? It's fast. It's like, it's this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Ferrari. Liquid Capital is like a Tesla Model S Plaid, right? When you put your foot on the gas, you don't hear anything, but it's zooming. Personally, I like both of those cars. So for me, I'm excited about both of them. It's an amazing protocol. It's an amazing project. The entire team. There are 5 guys over there. John and I have jumped on as advisors. It's a great experience being around them. And I think it's going to be extraordinarily successful. And like Titano, one of the commonalities, and by the way, the guys come from Grape Finance. And if you look at Grape's doing really, really well. So the focus of Liquid Capital is on 3 things. I call them the 3 S's: safety, sustainability, and price stability.
Wow.
Those are the 3 focuses of Liquid Capital. So safety, right? There are all sorts of mechanisms put in place, right? Anti-whale mechanisms and all these different things put in place for the safety. Oh yeah. And then sustainability, there are all sorts of things that are starting now at the very beginning to help the price sustain, right? And then help the project sustain. And then price stability, right? The goal of these rebase projects is people want a stable price.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone's going to the moon. You would love to have a stable price. So a lot of these things are built into it. Here's the amazing part. A lot of the things that Liquid's doing are also going to be made available to Titano. So, wow. Yeah. So on a specific use case, 2 of the use cases that are critical to Titano and critical to the space are going to be built by Liquid Capital. The first thing is a Launchpad, right? So the Launchpad will be built by Liquid and accessible by Titano so that we can gain the revenue and also, as importantly, partner in and usher in new projects. Remember, we talked about the economy and the ecosystem. Right. So the Titano holders can now invest in these new projects that are part of the Titano ecosystem. Right. So that's the first thing.
Are you referring to the Switch?
Yes, it'll be through Switch, right? And then also, the Launchpad will work in conjunction with Switch.
Okay.
Got it. Second thing is we're building this earn to learn. We've talked about this. This is critical. We've got to educate investors in this space.
Right.
It is extraordinarily important. I'm not just talking about for Titano. I'm talking about for everyone. Because if you don't know how to tell the difference between a good project and a rug pull, not only are you doomed, but you're going to spread FUD around the industry. Yeah. And so Liquid Capital, Eric is an example, has a thriving business in Australia where he educates stock investors.
Wow.
So we're going to call on his expertise and we're going to use that and create a project where people are going to be incentivized financially to educate themselves. Again, not just on Titano and Liquid Capital, but DeFi and crypto and security and all these different things. So when you put that together with this trusted partner circle, right? Now, remember what's going to be created: a group of projects that are agreeing to submit themselves to the safety and security of all of the investors. So you'll be able to come into this ecosystem and you'll have a higher standard that you can hold things to and that you be sure that things are being held to help you feel more comfortable. Again, the goal is to stop people from running all the time. People are running from amazing projects. Yeah. Because something happens, right? You know, a use case took a little bit more time, or, you know, they had a hack or whatever it might be. So Titano's in a position to talk about that because we haven't had that instance. So being able again to bring Titano, the Titano devs together with the Liquid Capital devs, it's been a match made in heaven.
Yeah, awesome. I think David, a few things, like price and value. I think price is, is a trade that happens every day based on supply and demand, but value is over a long period of time. And I see that's where Titano now with Liquid Capital is actually going to move into that. And I think that's, I hope, when when we will be able to see this happening? You said July 10th. So
July 10th is the launch, is
Okay.
the white sale of Liquid Capital. I'm gonna have Eric come on. He'll give you all the details.
awesome.
And
Sure.
then immediately after launch, you'll begin to see partnerships executed. Remember, across the partners, there'll be opportunities for co-marketing. You see a lot of these partners doing AMAs together. There'll be
Awesome.
co-development. You don't have to develop that use case. There's another partner that has that use case. So think about it from a Titano investor standpoint. Imagine being able to use your Titano amongst these partners. And when you do, Titano, the project, gets a benefit. So you're helping yourself.
Right.
You might want to get involved in a Tomb Fork. You might want to get involved in a nodes project, right? So imagine coming from Titano, and as a result of investing in that project, the Titano project gets a benefit. That's what, so this for me, as you can see, when I've talked about an ecosystem and an economy where the token gets used across, and by the way, we're cross chain. I think we're in 4 different chains. So it's all happening in one shot.
Wow.
That's what this represents.
So David, help me understand this. So I'm a retailer. I have all these Titano tokens.
Yes.
I'll wait for Switch as a bridge to Liquid
Yes.
Capital.
Yes.
Liquid Capital will have 14 different projects or different partners, and I
Yes.
can use Titano tokens to invest in every one of them, or I can choose a specific project.
Conceptually, yes.
Okay.
Here's what's available. The partners there's a common conversation amongst all the partners, right? Around safety, around access to valuable use cases and tools, and around being able to grow their communities. Right. So part of growing your community is making more people have an understanding of the value of your community, or I'm sorry, the value of your project. Right. So what'll happen is there'll be some general ideas developed around how partners can interact, and then there'll be some specific ideas. So Titano might identify 3 or 4 projects that it likes. And by the way, these aren't only just DeFi projects. There's some NFT projects. There's a wallet project we're talking to that's massive. So all these projects. So Titano might identify 4 or 5 projects out of the 30 where they go, those are the ones we want to focus on. Titano will then make an individual deal with each of those projects. Do you see what I'm saying? It may involve Switch, it may not.
Right.
The project might be on another chain, right? So the idea around it is what's going to happen when you get all of these amazing developers in one space. And I've had an opportunity to talk to a bunch of them. There's some brilliant people, but maybe they don't know how to market their project.
Exactly.
Or maybe they don't have the funds in house to develop the way that they want. This partnership allows for that to happen. There will be a specific fund, as an example, that Liquid Capital will have, where they could fund use cases for a particular partner. They'll fund that.
I think that's brilliant. Even when you were mentioning this, David, I just thought about Do Kwon, and when that thing happened, I think it was what was that company, Manish? One of the top 10, Polygon, right?
Polygon. Yeah.
Polygon, the developers, the founders actually wanted to help. They were coming to that rescue. Even CZ coming in. So looking at this as what Liquid Capital is going to do, I think you're going to bring some of the brightest minds in the industry, and I think that's where the future. The conversations that happen within the community as well as the developers can grow together.
Yeah, so, thank you. And one more thing I want to add, and this is part of the initiative of DeFi and crypto policing itself. Right? We all know that regulation is coming, but regulation is coming, and there's nobody to talk to. Who are they going to talk to when they say from the crypto side, well, what do you guys think? What are you guys doing? So imagine this protocol or this trusted partner circle I'd love to get this thing up to 100, 150 legitimate projects.
Right.
Then we can put a council together and talk about standards in DeFi.
Exactly. And you will have the technical expertise. You would have the conversations around security. You will understand also the disruptions in those traditional markets, because you have bankers and people in that space, in the financial space. I think that is a matured conversation that we have yet, to be honest, David, to see. Right, mostly it's all individualized. You have all this Hex guy. Everybody just have their own opinion, but we need that body to work in hand with regulations.
Absolutely. So this is the Titano story right now, and people again have questioned have questions about where John and I sit in all of this. This, we believe, based on what we've seen, is directly related to Titano's future. Again, we got overwhelmed. We need help to tell the story. Right. We need help to get this message out, and at the same time, Titano needs to assume its position. And I say that not from an ego standpoint, it's a reality. Guys, I don't know of a project that has 200 forks, another DeFi project. And if you add up all of that to value together, I mean, what did it equal? $2 billion? That's Titano. So it's positioned itself by virtue of the fact that what it's done to be a leader in this space.
Right.
So this all goes there. And like I said, Liquid recognized that. And it's a value exchange. It's a value exchange. We can bring this. You guys can bring that. Right. These guys are brilliant in the space. And, so it's very, very, very exciting. But I want people to know it's an extension of everything, right? We got to bring these projects together.
Right. We got to. And if you look at some of the projects, I mean, I'm a historian. I love to look at history, how markets are formed. I'm a great author was Ray Dalio, came out I think it was called the New World Order or a World Order, and he talks about the past, right, and how we can use that to project future possibilities. This, what you are doing, just kind of in principle, first principle, tells me that you are on the right track. I mean, the direction that you're going, and I really hope to see that happen in the next few years. When we have that conference. And maybe a body, a community that is formed.
A Titano conference,
Oh man, that would be amazing.
And probably in 30 to 60 days, we are going to see much more things in a utilities, partnership, algorithmic burn, switch, listing, launchpad, NFT, and many more things. I think there are so many things going on.
So with that, David, shall we move to the FAQ?
Please.
I think there's some questions that.
All right. So I have pinned up around 10 important questions. Let's go through it. Let me flash it up.
David, we good for questions?
Okay, excellent. Let's do it.
Sure.
All right. So the question is coming from Dave Thomas. Will Titano will be placed or listed in an exchange like Binance or Coinbase?
Okay. So excellent question. Thank you for it. Typically, exchanges don't like rebase tokens, right? They don't like tokens that charge fees. They want to charge the fees. So in order for Titano to be listed, it's challenging. Now, I will say I've been approached by 3 or 4 smaller exchanges that are saying, hey, we'll take a rebase token. We'll take a token with fees. The challenge with smaller exchanges is they're tricky, right? A lot of these smaller exchanges do things that can hurt the actual project. Now, with that being said, and I've always said this, if Titano or this industry, this area, this rebase industry reaches critical mass, then I believe that exchanges like Binance and Coinbase will come to the table and want to have a discussion. Right? So that's the general answer. The specific answer is, don't rule out Titano creating another token that can be listed on an exchange. Don't rule that out.
And have a correlation.
Absolutely.
Wow. Nice idea.
Yep.
Correct. And then I think the next one is from the same Dave also. So when Titano touch 5 to 10 cents.
Okay. Price is something that I can't talk about, just like I can't give people advice in investing. But what I can say is this. Titano is doing everything that is necessary to cause positive price pressure. See, people talk about positive price appreciation. What if you burn and what if you buy back and all that kind of stuff? If it was as simple as that, you wouldn't need to do anything else. Imagine we create a token, we have a billion tokens, and we just keep burning and burning and burning. And in 2 weeks, we're billionaires. It's not as simple as that, right?
Yeah.
You got to come up with utility and blah, 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 blah. So what Titano's focused on is coming up with those ways that on things and methods that cause positive price pressure, right? So burning is a part of that, buybacks a part of that, revenue generation is a part of that, positivity around the project is a part of that. All of those things are being done, and they are increasing those things over time. So they're not being done at the same speed. More and more and more of those things are added. Hopefully, it causes price appreciation. Historically, it's caused price appreciation. That's as close as I can say to that, guys.
Yep. So another interesting question from Dave Roberts. What effect does issuing rebase to burn token have on market a cap and price?
What effect does issuing rebases to burn tokens have on market cap and price? I understand your question. I don't know if I can answer that question specifically. I'd love to, Dave Roberts? Yeah, I'd love to, Dave, for you to go into Discord and ask that question of Titano Wayne.
Sure.
I'm laughing because I always throw these technical questions to Wayne, and then he's like, man, it took me a half an hour to answer that question. Yes, but Wayne, you're so good at it. So I don't want to give you a wrong answer. It's a great question. Please direct it towards Titano Wayne, and he'll give you a full answer. And tell him that I sent you. Sorry about that, guy.
Yeah. All right. So I think one question is coming from Daryl, which is when is going to list it on CG, and I think CoinGecko and CoinMarketCaps.
Okay, so this is an ongoing issue with Titano. So let me say this for you, those of you that haven't heard me say this. When Switch was, well, let me back up. So Titano has had a great ongoing relationship with CoinMarketCap, right, and CoinGecko. We have spent a lot of money marketing with those organizations. It's been fantastic for us. It's been fantastic for both sides. How those relationships work is there are typically agents that work on behalf of those two organizations that work with us. When Switch was conceived, there were conversations with these agents who have been amazing for us about listing Switch on these two agencies. And what we were told at the time was, great, if you guys do this, then we can quickly move to get Switch listed. So everything that was requested was done, but Switch wasn't listed. Now, I don't know if I can rightfully blame anyone. I can just say that that's what happened, right? Everything that was requested by Titano was done. At some point, so we kept hearing a few more days, a few more days, a few more days. And then at some point, I think the Titano side said that this thing is going to go the entire typical 60 days. So what we know now is that we're at or around that 60-day point. Everything that needed to be done on Titano's side is done. So we're simply waiting for them to list Switch on CoinMarketCap. And that's where things are. So what I will say about that is our expectations are any day it'll be listed.
Yeah, right. So moving on to the next one is David, inflation hits the price every single day and the measure is not helping. What is your plan to combat inflation?
Inflation. Okay, well, I spoke a bit about this, and I don't know, the deflationary measures are not helping. In this market, nothing has the desired effect, right? But if you go back before we had this last dump, as I mentioned, just those three use cases were knocking a significant amount off the inflation. So what are the plans to combat inflation? The plans to combat inflation are continuing to introduce use cases that combat inflation. We need help, but let me be clear, we need help from the market. Like every other crypto project, we need this market to stabilize and to go up. What's interesting about Titano is since its launch, and I invite everyone to go take a look at the crypto charts and see what's happened. Start on November 17th when Titano got launched. We've never been in an ascending market. Never. Not one single period of time. Yeah, there's been days when the market's gone up, but if you look and see what's happening, so we've been fighting against this falling market since this project is launched. What we need in order for those deflationary measures to work as well as they can is we need the market to stabilize and to go up. So what is Titano going to do? We're going to continue to bring in deflationary measures. Everything that's going to be introduced, everything that has been introduced in the last month and that will be continue to be introduced has a deflationary component. And collectively, they do help. You're saying they're not helping. I disagree with you. If you took those away, you'd see less deflation happening. So they are helping. The idea was never that one thing was going to cause deflation. It's a group of things that will cause deflation. And similarly, the idea was never that one thing would generate enough revenue for us to overcome the rebases. It's going to be a range of things that do that. So all those things are going to be introduced, and all those things will continue to be introduced. Bear with us.
Yeah, and the last but not the least, I think it's coming from more on the API side. So would you like to answer this?
Yes. Okay, so David, with the deflationary aspects, play lottery bets well. When you say 1% of 1.9%, do you mean, I see. I mean half of that 1.9% APY. There was an amazing article that was written by Titan, who is a DeFi expert, right? We had him write an article that came out on, I think it was on Yahoo Finance and Market Watch, where I asked him to go deep into the deflationary measures and their effects on the protocol. And he spoke at length, he wrote at length, I should say, about the effects of those three use cases on Titano's deflation. So I encourage you, if you haven't read it, go back and read that article. I think there's certainly a link in the announcements page on the Titano socials. Yes. Go and read it, and he breaks down what I'm talking about here. So yeah, the answer is 1% of the answer is 50%, a little bit more than 50% of the 1.9% daily APY. I'm sorry, daily yield, right? APY is annual, right? So yeah, that's the answer to that question.
So awesome. That's all we have it for FAQ.
Thanks guys for the questions that is coming. Of course, feel free to go on the Discord, also in the Titano group, if you have further questions after listening to this. David, any final words that you have to say? Yeah, I always look forward to that.
You know I got some final words.
Yes.
Thank you guys. I want to reiterate the reason that I'm here. When we did our first AMA, I think you guys had less than 100 subscribers.
Right.
And we did an AMA, and it's gotten almost 11,000 views. And the reason I came is because you two are, for me, the future of this space, right? Your channel's about helping people who might not normally have access to this space because of a lot of different reasons, mostly because they just don't understand how to navigate this space. And you guys, created a channel based on that. And I want to do everything that I can to support that, because crypto should be aimed at those people that are doing without. Right. So I just want to honor you guys and thank you guys for having me again. It's always a pleasure. And, I'm happy also now to call you guys my friends. So I just really, really appreciate you, giving us the opportunity, and also, making it like, guys, you bring it, tell me what's going on here, what's happening. And so we get a chance to have a great conversation, an honest conversation about what we see. I hope people listening to this don't hear me acting as if I have every answer to every question. I've said repeatedly, and I'll repeat it now, Titano's an experiment. It's a grand experiment. And how it's going to come out, only time will tell. But what I can say is we've all been participating and doing an amazing job, and we should be proud of ourselves for what we're doing, because the minimum that'll happen is we've shown some things that need to be a part of DeFi going forward. right? You know, like I said before, maybe the APY is too high. Maybe the rebases should be every hour rather than every 30 minutes. You know, a lot of different things that we will discover along the way. But there's no doubt that what we've created has, again, created some components that will be a part of DeFi going forward. So I want us all to be proud of that. The second thing I want us to know is, remember why we all came here, right? I said this in the beginning, right? We were dissatisfied, and we came here to try and find value. And we've got to remember, right? We're in a space that's being created right in front of our eyes. It's happening right in front of us. And it's extraordinarily uncomfortable. I feel it. Some days I'm terrified. Some days I'm more excited than I have a right to be, you know, but I'm never comfortable. And I shouldn't be comfortable, because if I was comfortable, I'd be doing the same thing. That discomfort is what constantly attracts me to what's going on. I've met amazing people. I've met brilliant people. I continue to meet brilliant people who are so committed to making things better for all of us, themselves included. And so I don't want us to give up on what's happened. You know, I have a friend who is a crypto whale who, not the last crypto winter, but the one before that, got involved and went all in. And now he is extraordinarily wealthy. I was talking before this last dump to a group of people, and we were talking about the prices of a lot of our favorite tokens and where we thought they might fall in the next winter. And each of those projects is below that. And I can't help but think that this is perhaps the opportunity that we've all hoped to have, right? Because remember how it happens, right? We don't go back to our previous highs. We smash those highs.
Yes.
Right. We went from 20,000 to 69. I heard a really smart guy talking about the next one will be 100, 150.
Right.
Right. If you get in now, then yeah, craziness is going on in the world, in crypto, in DeFi. But these are when the best opportunities happen.
Right.
And so, you know, with all of that, I want us all to just have that as a part of our daily, when we turn, you know, when we open it up and we see red and we say, oh my God, I'm down, I'm down, I'm down. Believe me, I am in the same situation. But we got to keep things in context, zoom out, right? The other thing I want to talk about, so there's that, stay strong. The other thing I want to talk about is what happened with Terra for a minute. The idea, what I don't want us to give up on is the idea of what Terra was trying to create and what UST was trying to create. An algorithmic stablecoin is a necessary part of crypto. Remember why stablecoins came around, right? Because there was a time where if you bet right on Bitcoin, but now you wanted to get out, you'd have to find another project that you thought had the same. So these stablecoins, the problem with a stablecoin is that they interact with fiat currency.
Right.
And when they do, the owners of the fiat currency are in a position to control that stable coin, right? So we defeat the very purpose of creating crypto, right? The United States is trying to regulate, well, you're going to hold US dollars? Well, we're going to tell you how you can hold our US dollars. And look at what the United States has done. I'm a US citizen, so let's be clear about that. But Russia gets into a war with Ukraine. I'm only going to say this in a second. And the only part I'll say is they decide that they're going to shut down the entire banking system of Russia. I have friends in countries around the world, regular Russian citizens, who have been cut off from the entire financial system. They can't use their credit cards. They can't use their bank cards, right? So when we talk about these stable coins that are going to be connected to this fiat currency, that's what we're talking about. So creating an algorithmic stable coin that doesn't interact with fiat is a necessity.
Yeah.
Did we get it right so far? Apparently not. But let's not give up on the entire industry, because it's critical for us getting what we want, which is freedom from that manipulation.
Yes.
So, you know, Do Kwon's an idiot, you know, Terra and that whole ecosystem, you know, didn't work out, but let's not give up on these foundational pieces that create what we all want and what we all need to reach those goals that we want. I just wanted to say that. I didn't want that to go by. And now about Titano and Liquid Capital. Again, Liquid Capital is an idea that got put together by a lot of smart people. with an agenda of creating value for investors. Same as Titano, no difference. Yeah, there have been some things learned, and some of those things have been introduced in Liquid that will again go back to Titano. So there's a symbiotic relationship almost. Not to say that one project is responsible for the other, they're not, but they recognize the value that each other brings and the value that having each other be successful is in terms of, or to investors, I should say. So if there's some value there, and if you guys want more questions or have more questions about it, please reach out to me. As I mentioned, I'm gonna get Eric in here with the guys to do an AMA. So there's that. And then the final thing I wanna say, and I apologize for this closing to be long, but you knew it was gonna be anyway, is don't give up. Yeah. Just don't give up. This is the part of it that is the hard part, but the necessary part.
Yeah.
So yeah, be afraid, be reluctant, at times, be more cautious, educate yourself, but don't give up. This space, you know, it's interesting.
Yeah.
My friend, the crypto whale, said to me, when innovation happens, it's inevitable. The challenge is when and how does it come in? So let's look at something inevitable. Inevitable was the internet, right? It was inevitable. And I remember going back and people were saying, well, wait a second, you're telling me that I'm gonna give my credit card information to some people I've never seen. They have no retail location. That's never gonna happen, right? That was the conversation.
Right.
The thing about it was the internet was inevitable because it was an innovation on what it was replacing. That is crypto. Right. It's an innovation on money, and we can never go back. It's like the car against the horse. You can never go back. That is crypto. So when you have doubts, just understand it's an innovation. Now, let me be clear. We have to control that innovation. Right. I said this earlier. You go to your bank in 3 or 4 years from now, and they'll have a crypto fund, and we're paying you 4% annually. You can invest in all your favorite cryptos. That's what's coming, gang. Safe, secure, and it's at your local bank. We have to control this industry, not those same guys. So the innovation is inevitable, but we have to maintain control of it. And how we maintain control over it is we participate, right? We're active. Like I say with Titanos, jump in, Titans. This is your life. This is your future for your kids, for your family. Be a part of this thing. It's amazing. It's the most amazing thing I've been a part of in my entire life. Jump in. Yeah, it's scary. Yeah, it's gonna go wrong. Yeah. But I'm telling you, this is it. This is the future. So again, that's my closing. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate everybody listening and everyone who will listen. I'm, as you can tell, excited as always. I look forward to the future, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, David, for sharing that. I'd just like to add 2 statements. There are no day traders in the top 25 of a Forbes 400 list. So that means you guys have to be in for the long haul. And fortunes are made in the bear market, not the bull market. So in closing. So thank you for joining us, guys. We'll see you again in Telegram. David, as always, thank you. Much appreciated to the dev teams as well as the mods. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all right. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Diamonds on your neck, bet they on your neck. You want that watch, you better rock it tech. You want the chain, you better cop a vest. You want the check, but can you